Welcome to Echoes After Midnight, where the woods are not empty. The dark is not safe, and you are never alone. This is A Thorne in the Flesh, The Shadows We Stand In, by Alexander Bainswool. 3 weeks after leaving Carl and the whispering cedars of Shadow Creek behind, the black panel van rolled south like a slow bruise across the map. Elias Thorne windows cracked to let the changing air whip through the cab. Cedar and mountain rain gave way to open prairie winds carrying the scent of dry grass and distant cattle. Sam rode shotgun as always, the big German shepherd's head resting on the console, ears flicking at every passing semi. The road had gone quiet again after the Bigfoot Guardian, the witches, and the Nocturnal Motorcycle Club. Too quiet for a man who lived by the Carve. The week on the road blurred into a rhythm Elias had come to accept. They camped most nights in pullouts and national forest edges where the trees still felt old and watchful. He would build a small fire or brew black coffee strong enough to strip paint from a barn and cook whatever he had caught or bought cheap at the last gas station. Sam earned a thick steak every other evening from roadside diners. Elias would park the van, order the meat medium rare with no seasoning, and carry it out to the dog waiting like a statue in the passenger seat. In the mornings they hit whatever greasy spoon was open. Elias nursed black coffee in a corner booth while Sam waited outside, patient as stone. The routine felt almost peaceful, the kind of calm that made his scar tissue itch and his fingers flex around the bone-handled carving set in the duffel. He replaced a blood-crusted charcoal hoodie and torn jeans at a second-hand thrift shop outside Spokane. Fresh black thermal shirt and cargo pants, nothing memorable. Dirty clothes got ditched. It was cleaner that way. No laundry, no roots, no evidence. He lived like this because he had never felt roots anywhere. No family left after his sister died under the wheels of that drunk driver. No real connection to people beyond the ones he carved up or the monsters he put down. Owning a house, furniture, a life, it all seemed like dead weight. The van, the duffel, the weapons, and now Sam were all he needed. Cheaper to roam. Cleaner. Outside a small truck stop town in northern Montana, Elias saw a corner punk in a hoodie working over 2 scared teenagers. 15, maybe 16 years old. The punk had one kid shoved against a chain-link fence while the other tried to pull him off. The dealer's fist was already cocked back. Elias crossed the lot in 3 strides. He caught the punk's wrist, twisted until the shoulder popped, then drove a knee into the solar plexus. The dealer folded like wet paper. Elias leaned in close enough for the kid to smell gun oil and old blood. Touch them again, and I will carve your name into you with your own rib. Slowly. The punk scrambled away, gasping. Elias turned to the teenagers who stared at him like he had stepped out of a nightmare. Stay in school, he told them, voice flat. Or end up like him. Your choice. They nodded fast and ran. Sam, who had hopped out at the first shout, sat at Elias and heel, tail thumping once in approval. 2 days later, the van rolled into Hollow Ridge, Montana. A speck of a town pressed against the foothills where the plains met the mountains. Elias had decided to visit an old friend, Marcus Hale. They had served together in an elite joint unit, American Special Ops, working side by side with Canada's JTF-2 on a classified cross-border op years ago. Marcus had been the calm one. The one who shared cigarettes and never questioned why Sergeant Thorne's knife always came out before the mission was complete. Some things just need cutting, Elias used to say to him in that steady voice of his, quoting an old friend. The address was a modest ranch house past the edge of town. Backing onto a national park on one side and the other, hill after rolling hill as far as the eye could see. Secluded. Elias parked. Jumped out with Sam and heel and knocked. The woman who opened the door was lovely, though she seemed to be burning with grief. Mid-40s, dark hair streaked with early silver, eyes red from crying. Behind her stood her sister, a sharper-featured woman in her late 30s, arms crossed like she was daring the world to prove her wrong. Before he could speak, she said, "You're Elias Thorne." Soft and sad, she continued, "Marcus told me all his stories about the Carver. I'm Claire, and this is my sister Rachel. I've heard some of those stories myself." Rachel snorted. "Ghost stories and monsters, please don't get my sister going. She has been talking about shadow people and some Hat Man nonsense since Marcus died. I told her it's just grief and nothing more." Claire's voice cracked. "He started having the dreams 3 weeks ago. Tall figure in a hat standing at the foot of the bed. Just watching at first. Then the dreams got worse. The figure would step closer, feeding on every ounce of fear and pain until Marcus could barely sleep. He woke up screaming one night, clutched his chest, and was gone. Coroner said heart attack. But I know. The Hat Man took him. Feeds on fear, pain, loss. Appears in dreams first, makes you terrified, then comes for the soul when you are weakest. They say the Hat Man is one of the oldest shadow people. Born from the collective terror of humanity during the long nights before electricity, when every shadow in a candlelit room could hide something ancient. Some stories claim it was a man once, a traveler who made a deal with something older than sin to escape death, only to become a parasite that slips between the dream world and ours. It wears the hat like a crown of fear, solid when it wants to touch, shadow when it wants to watch. Other shadow people follow it like courtiers, but the Hat Man is the worst. It does not just kill. It takes the soul and leaves the body looking peaceful so no one suspects. Please, Elias, her eyes begging, help me kill it. Rachel rolled her eyes. Shadow monsters. Right. I am only here to make sure my sister does not do anything stupid. If following you around helps her see there is no boogeyman, fine. Elias studied them both. Sam had already pushed past and was leaning happily against Claire's leg, tail wagging. Both women melted a little, hands automatically scratching the shepherd's ears. Sam had that effect. Both women were already in love with the dog. He likes you, Elias said. Means you are safe. He explained what he knew of the Hat Man, drawing from half-mad hunters and old contacts he had met on the road. The creature had no effect on animals. Dogs terrified it. Sam could see the thing even when it stayed invisible to human eyes. Elias himself felt nothing but cold focus. No fear. Never had. Undiagnosed psychopath or not, it made him the perfect hunter. Rachel scoffed but agreed to tag along for Claire's sake. That night, while they sat in the quiet living room making the plan, Elias found his mind drifting. He watched the two sisters, the way Rachel hovered protectively and Claire leaned on her without shame. He thought about being an only child. How lucky Claire was to have a sister who would drop everything and drive through the night just to sit with her in grief. He wondered how different his own life might have been if his sister hadn't been taken from him or if he had a brother. Someone to share the weight of the belt when his old man came home drunk. Someone who might have understood the night he carved up the neighbor's cat after it scratched his dog Max. Maybe a brother would have kept him from walking the path that led to 14 human kills before he ever learned real monsters existed. Then the reflection settled deeper. He had had many brothers after all. In the military, men like Marcus. Men who stood shoulder to shoulder in the sand and never asked why when the knife came out. Brothers forged in fire and cordite in blood. The thought brought a rare, quiet warmth before it faded back into the ice. The plan was simple and brutal. They would use Claire's raw grief as bait. The Hat Man fed on pain and loss like a leech. They would stage a night at the house where Claire openly mourned. Photos out, voice raw, tears flowing. Elias and Sam would wait in the dark, silver knife ready. Lights rigged to flood the room the second Sam alerted. During the long hours of preparation, Elias' mind slipped back to one of his earlier human kills, back before he understood that real monsters walked the world wearing human skin. The woman had been a serial killer in her own right. She lured men online, drained their bank accounts, then took them to her kill room and finished the job. Made it look like they had simply left their families and run away. Elias had tracked her for weeks. When he finally stepped into that kill room, the air thick with the copper smell of old blood and the faint perfume she still wore, something cold and clean had settled over him. No rage, just precision. He had let her talk, let her try to seduce him the way she had the others. Then he carved. Slow at first, learning the shape of her fear the way she had learned the shape of theirs. The feeling had been pure, a geometry of justice. No remorse. Not then. Not ever for the 14. Only the cat still haunted him sometimes. That night the house smelled of coffee and grief. Claire sat on the couch surrounded by pictures of Marcus, crying openly while Rachel hovered, skeptical but protective. Elias waited in the hallway shadows, bone-handled knife in hand. Sam lay at Claire's feet, ears up, just listening. At 2:17 in the morning, Sam's head snapped up. A low growl rolled out of his chest. Elias felt it then. Not fear, but the prickle of something ancient and wrong sliding through the room like cold smoke. A tall silhouette in a wide-brimmed hat coalesced in the corner, darker than the darkness, edges bleeding into shadow. The Hat Man stepped forward, solidifying. Long arms, pale hands ending in too many fingers. It reached slowly for Claire. Sam exploded upward, barking furiously. The shadow thing recoiled. Dogs terrified it. Elias moved. He hit the light switch. Harsh floodlights bathed the room. The Hat Man hissed, half solid now, and lunged. Elias met it head on. The fight was ugly and fast. The creature blurred between shadow and flesh, fists like cold iron when they connected. Elias ducked a sweeping arm that passed through the couch like smoke, then drove an elbow into what should have been ribs. Pain flared up his arm. The thing was dense when solid. The Hat Man grabbed him, fingers sinking toward his throat. Elias head-butted it, felt cartilage crunch, then slashed with the silver knife. The blade bit deep across the chest. Blackacre smoked where it touched. It screamed. A sound like tearing metal and dying dreams. It went fully solid, hat tipping over empty eyes full of hatred. Elias pressed the advantage, remembering every dirty trick Ruiz had beaten into him in the desert. Joints, throat, eyes. He hammered a palm strike into the sternum, followed with the knife up under the ribs. The Hat Man convulsed, trying to melt back into shadow, but the silver held it to this world. Elias drove the blade home again, twisting until the thing's form unraveled into smoke and ash that smelled of old nightmares. Silence. Claire was sobbing but alive. Rachel stared, white-faced, hands shaking. I saw it. Jesus Christ, I saw it. Both women hugged Sam like he was the only real thing left in the room. The shepherd licked their faces, tail wagging, completely unbothered. Later, while Elias packed the duffel, Rachel touched his arm. Her eyes were different now. Soft, drawn to the man who had just carved a nightmare out of existence. You do not have to leave, she said quietly. There is room here. For you and Sam. Claire nodded, eyes still wet but hopeful. Marcus would have wanted you to stay. We both feel it. Elias looked at them. Two women who had just seen their world crack open and still wanted him to stay. He scratched Sam behind the ears. I never stay anywhere, he said. The words were gentle but final. No roots. Never did. The road's cheaper. Cleaner. And there is always another monster waiting. He climbed into the van at dawn. Sam hopped into the passenger seat. In the rear view, Claire and Rachel stood on the porch, arms around each other, watching the taillights disappear south. On the radio, the next county down was already whispering about night terrors and another unexplained death in the foothills. Elias smiled that small, cold smile and pointed the van toward the next stretch of blacktop. Sam rested his head on the console, eyes alert and content. The hunt never ended. It only grew darker. And now it had a shadow in the rear view and still a dog riding shotgun. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe for more echoes after midnight.